one of these trainers is going to have the opportunity to face its accent. STUDMUFFIN has already done it. ChemCoop really wants that opportunity. Both of these players are locked-in trainers. Are you ready for the losers finals?
Deep breath, and here we go. Shadow Drapion versus Shadow Drapion. We talk about the Dark Poison type and the waters behind it. We do have Azumarill on both sides. We have Cradilly for STUDMUFFINS and Malamar for ChemCoop.
Yeah, and I think it's going to really come down to how these trainers want to play out this lead, and I think that's going to dictate how the rest of this battle goes because of those Pokemon in the back. So we see the Aquatails getting fired off back and forth, doing some nice neutral damage. Not quite enough to two-shot, but it is going to put it incredibly low.
And when you are that low, you then run the risk of getting farmed down by your opponent. So these trainers are going to keep an eye on the HP bar and also their Pokemon in reserve. Aquatail gets fired off here from STUDMUFFINS, trying to whittle down the HP of that opposing Drapion.
Yeah, and I think STUDMUFFINS could make a play here, and does. Catches the energy on the Azumarill, so that's going to open up the door for ChemCoop to be able to dictate which Pokemon is going to face which Pokemon.
Throwing the crunch is so curious, right? I mean, maybe expecting the swap, and now we have the Azumarill mirror match on the field. ChemCoop and STUDMUFFINS have been doing this all tournament long, sending out that Water and Fairy type Pokemon to sponge damage, give themselves some breathing room, and deal some play roughs in the meantime.
Yeah, I think one thing to note is that Shadow Drapion from ChemCoop, or STUDMUFFINS, still has a ton of health remaining.
Yes.
So we got to keep that in mind towards the end of the battle, but we see the play rough getting fired off here.
Health and energy, right? Because he didn't fire the charge attack before the swap. Play rough from ChemCoop's Azumarill is going to knock STUDMUFFINS down into the yellow. At this point, he's going to fire the play rough immediately. He does not want to get too far behind in terms of HP.
Yeah, and I think ChemCoop is going to be able to save those shields for that Malamar. I think the Malamar is going to be the key Pokemon for this battle for ChemCoop. We are going to see a player off getting fired off here just before going to 100 energy and realizing that ChemCoop is going to fire this. It's not going to do enough, but it is going to put Azumarill deep into the red.
Exactly right. Each bubble is going to give you 11, so if you go over 99, that's a lot of wasted energy down the drain, and the swap again into the Drapion, but the Ice Beam gets triggered. STUDMUFFIN says, that's not what I wanted.
Yeah, and I think this Ice Beam is going to be enough to knock out the Shadow Drapion, but we do see a shield, and that's exactly why you need to shield, because it's going to be able to knock out. Now this Drapion, I don't know if it can farm down, and we actually, maybe ChemCoop is anticipating a charge attack there.
Yeah, absolutely, but the bait coming through from STUDMUFFINS, he sees a Malamar on the opposing side. We know Crunch is going to do a lot of damage. ChemCoop calls it again.
How does he keep calling these baits? He did it last game against the Aerial Ace. Now he does it here with the Aquatail, and another Aquatail gets fired off. Now you actually have to start shielding even just these smaller Aquatails.
And if we budget out that HP due to the Psywave damage, I think STUDMUFFINS can only get to one more Aquatail here, but it's going to be close. He's closing in, and I don't think ChemCoop wants to give up his shield. He fires the foul play.
Yeah, I think this is the time to throw the foul play to guarantee getting the knockout before the Dropion's able to get to that next charge attack. The Azumarill is still very low, but the Cradilly is at full health here. You have to land these super effective superpowers in order to do any type of damage.
Look at that Azumarill in the back for ChemCoop. He does have kind of that reset button he can press by switching into the Azumarill. If he's able to catch a charge attack on it as well, that would be stellar, but I don't think STUDMUFFINS wants that to happen. He fires that Rock Tomb immediately.
And then the shield definitely has to come up here because you are debuffed, and this is your last real Pokemon. I mean, Azumarill is just so low. You have to get to a charge attack here, and I think you have to catch a move. But we see the Ice Beam getting fired off on charge attack priority. If STUDMUFFINS shields this, he can guarantee the Ice Beam going through.
Charge attack priority, tie, switch in, foul play, gets shielded. No switch out, no escape. Here comes the Ice Beam from STUDMUFFINS and his Azumarill.
I think that was the exactly perfect play that STUDMUFFINS had to go for to guarantee the victory here. Now these Azumarills are just going to be able to bubble each other down quite a bit. As ChemCoop's only play is farm down and Ice Beam the Cradilly in the back, and that's not going to happen.
My goodness, the switch in charge attack priority tie, giving me a little flashback to when Inadequence did it with his Giratina Origin form versus the Charge Bug at a regional pass. My goodness, that
was Utrecht.
Utrecht, that's one of the most difficult mechanics to execute in the entire game. Your understanding of the turn speed and your reaction time both have to be sky high.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly why STUDMUFFINS is in this position. He has demonstrated time and time again at this regional tournament and previous regional tournaments that he is a high-skilled player, understands the nuances and the depth of Pokemon GO PvP.
Azumarill, Shadow Drapion, a core that has been so instrumental this entire season, bringing it here again. Both of these trainers squaring off in a very kind of eerily similar matchup. We haven't seen any of those key differences. We haven't seen Tinkaton or Talonflame quite yet, but we did see that Malamar in game number 1. For ChemCoop, the Malamar seemed underwhelming. What was your read on that?
Yeah, I think it just wasn't put in the right position. It kept getting, you know, attacked from different angles. The Azumarill obviously was there, the Drapion was there, the Credilli, obviously it was able to land the superpower, but at the same time it was just very underwhelming. Like you said, it didn't do any one-hit knockouts.
Yeah,
it's never going to be able to do that.
Actually, I think you said it perfectly. No one-hit knockouts. It feels like Malamar is a 2 charge attack Pokemon. Whenever you want to get rid of anything, you have to fire off double charge attacks. And when you are sacrificing your attack and defense to throw the superpower, it can be super uncomfortable to be in that spot.
Definitely. And I think here, ChemCoop didn't bring the Talonflame in game 1 because he anticipated the Shadow Drapion, the Azumarill, the Credilli, the 3 Pokemon that STUDMUFFINS brought. Does he make any adjustments? Does he bring the Lapras? Does he bring the Credilli? Or the Claydol?
Yeah, if you don't see an opening, I mean, I don't see the reason to do it, but let's find out. We're going to jump right into game number 2. Stark is on the money. Here comes Talonflame from ChemCoop, but it runs into a Shadow Drapion.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely going to heat up the battle, but it's not quite going to be able to avoid the water-type charge attacks because Aqua Tail is super effective. It's not going to be enough to knock out the Talonflame in one hit, but it is going to do quite a chunk.
Not quite enough, but it's going to threaten it, and it takes away that first Protect Shield from ChemCoop. And if he throws another Incinerate, it means that STUDMUFFINS gets a second Aqua Tail. This is absolutely reminiscent of what we saw in Melbourne when El Cabissimo and his double Incinerate users ran into a Shadow Drapion. It's really tough to keep pace with that Pokemon.
Agreed, and now actually we see a switch out into the Credilli, and the Fly is going to come through. I believe this is going to do about half of the Credilli's remaining HP. Maybe we see a switch out, we do, and right into that Shadow Drapion, who has been a really good counter to this Credilli, but Credilli is always very consistent, being able to fire off these Rock Tombs and debuff anything it sees.
I think it's so important to get that Bullet Seed in against the Talonflame because it means it's going to outpace that Drapion to the first charge attack as it does. Crunch coming through here. I don't know. STUDMUFFINS is confident this is not going to be enough to KO, but I'm not so sure.
I'm not so sure either. It might be just shy, but maybe getting 1 or 2 extra Poison Stings here with the defense drop is enough to knock out.
That defense drop, that was absolutely key there for ChemCoop. He's able to KO the first of STUDMUFFINS' 3 Pokemon, coming now with his 3rd, the Claydol.
Yeah, and we see a Mud Slap come through. This is definitely going to be a shield situation. The Drapion always forces shields here.
Absolutely. We do see another defense drop, though, which is really important. And the simultaneous switch. Now, Shadow Drapion meets the Azumarill.
Yeah, this is kind of an awkward spot for ChemCoop because you don't quite have the health remaining on the Drapion to farm down, but you also don't really want to throw a charge attack because you need to save the charge attacks for the Claydol.
Awkward spot for ChemCoop? I think this is awkward for STUDMUFFINS, right? He's got no HP left on the Drapion practically. He's got a Claydol that's going to take super effective damage from the bubbles. He's got to watch out for Ice Beams, and that Talonflame still has energy.
And one thing to remember here, that Talonflame's energy is exactly right.
Yeah.
That's going to force a lot of pressure on STUDMUFFINS. He's got to throw this right away. This isn't going to be enough to knock out the Azumarill, so we see the Rock Tomb come through.
We're going to see the Rock Tomb connect. Azumarill takes a big chunk, and after that, I still think you probably shield the Ice Beam here, being a super effective charge attack versus the Talonflame's Flame Charge and Fly, but we see no shield.
Yeah, STUDMUFFINS playing a different kind of game. We are going to see the Fly connect here. Ooh. I believe the Talonflame might be able to survive to get off 1 more Fly. It's going to be incredibly close.
I don't think so. If it needs another Incinerate, it won't get there. I don't think so. Mud Slap's coming through. Second Mud Slap connects, and that's a knockout on turn 6. Now it's just a weak Shadow Drapion and an Azumarill with barely any HP.
I don't know what ChemCoop is going to be able to do here. You got to really try to finesse a charge attack out. And actually, this might have been the only play to get ChemCoop back into this game.
I think STUDMUFFINS needed a Mud Slap.
Yeah,
he needed to Mud Slap, but instead, because he throws a charge attack, it means Drapion gets the Aqua Tail.
Oh my goodness. STUDMUFFINS throwing the Rock Tomb, sometimes throwing the Rock Tomb doesn't always mean it's the right play, and it's going to be able to knock out, and ChemCoop takes game 2.
ChemCoop hanging on the edge, and against his better judgment, STUDMUFFINS throws him a lifeline by using the charge attack there. My gosh, these margins are absolutely microscopic between these two players.
Yeah, razor thin, like as you would say.
Exactly.
It's crazy to see both these players making phenomenal plays, and then at the end of the game, it's just one or two little minor nuances, and that's all it takes as to who wins and who loses. I mean, if Talonflame had been able to get to a fly, you know,
Yeah.
if the Claydol had just mudslapped down, it's all these little tiny things that's going to dictate the game.
And I just want to say as well, like, we have the bird's eye view, right? We can see the energy, we can see all the Pokemon here being in that chair, being in the player's seat, and not really knowing how much energy is left, how much HP is left. It's so difficult to keep all those things in mind throughout the duration of the battle because it just moves so quickly. But here, this was kind of the start, maybe the first chip in the armor here for STUDMUFFINS, because he got KO'd by the Poison Stings and then was unable to get to the Rock Tomb. I mean, I don't know. I want to say it was like the beginning of a fall, but it felt like the first sign that things might not be going his way in this game.
Yeah, the chip in the arm was definitely there, and it's about how much can ChemCoop keep chipping away at that armor, because I believe STUDMUFFINS has proven, as you know, throughout this entire tournament, he is a very phenomenal calculated battler, and ChemCoop is also very technical. I think he's one of those players that's going to be able to know each and every of those matchups, so it's a matter of who's going to be able to break first, and who's going to make fewer mistakes throughout this entire set.
And it's tough, right? It's been a long weekend, so many battles, but the work is not over yet. Shadow Drapion lead into the Malamar.
Yeah, and I think we've seen this matchup before. The Shadow Drapion definitely has the advantage because of its ability to be able to hit for neutral attacks throughout the entire duration of the battle.
Yeah, exactly. And we see there a little bit maybe of hesitation on STUDMUFFINS' side. He doesn't throw the charge attack and allows ChemCoop to get off that superpower scot-free. He might actually look for a swap here. Oh, and STUDMUFFINS doesn't fall for it. Holds the energy and goes over to that Cradilly.
Yeah, the one benefit here is that Azumarill is able to get to the Ice Beam before the Cradilly is able to get to a Rock Tomb. So this is going to be a full-powered Ice Beam. It's going to do a little bit more than half and potentially put it in range of one more Ice Beam.
Exactly right. It looks like the Grass Knot is getting fired off here by that Cradilly. It's going to take about 40, maybe 50% of that Azumarill's health remaining. It's within range of one more, but there's still two Protect Shields for ChemCoop.
Yeah, and the difficulty here, I believe, for ChemCoop is going to be that this is a charge attack priority. This is a guaranteed loss for Azumarill if you don't shield. And now, who comes in here? Who's going to be the Pokemon that ChemCoop really wants to design his game plan around? And it looks like it's going to be the Malamar.
No Talonflame on this trio for ChemCoop in game number 3. Rock Tomb gets queued up, but the foul play is fired off first. STUDMUFFINS is actually pretty comfortable here. He realizes he has that Azumarill and a loaded Shadow Drapion in reserve.
I think the important part is all of this energy on the Shadow Drapion is going to go put into a good place, no matter who it goes into.
It's going to go bananas, right? No matter where it lands, you're going to see another charge attack come through. This time, it's going to be superpower from the Malamar. You have to assume that a swap is coming after this.
Yeah, I think so too. I think the switch into the Drapion is going to come in, but actually, no. We see a second superpower, maybe really trying to chip this Azumarill down into farm down range for just Poison Stings or Psy Waves later in the game.
I mean, the downside, though, is that as ChemCoop, you're giving up all your energy on the Malamar. You've got really no way to fight back, so he's trying to get some of that back and actually makes an insane swap to catch an Ice Beam on his Shadow Drapion.
Yeah, ChemCoop really understanding Azumarill has to fire its charge attack there because that 99 energy. Now we see another Ice Beam queued up. This is going to be incredibly difficult and increasingly difficult for ChemCoop to come back from, because now you could just switch into your own Shadow Drapion, meet your opponent on the battlefield, and fire off back to back to back Aqua Tails.
Batten down the hatches. There is a barrage of charge attacks coming your way if you're ChemCoop. 2 Ice Beams, 2 Aqua Tails. He's going to try to break up the pattern here with an Aqua Tail of his own, but STUDMUFFINS confidently no shields it.
Yeah, I think the only way through is going to be using the back of the Malamar. I think you have to let this go, understanding that the Drapion is never going to be able to outpace the opposing Drapion here for ChemCoop. He does let it go, and now I believe you only can farm down and hope that you can get this farm down in time, but STUDMUFFINS just too far ahead.
He's so fast, right? He already has the double Aqua Tail, the back-to-back. We're going to see the foul play get shielded up here. STUDMUFFINS has committed to his win condition. He says it is that Shadow Drapion, fires the first Aqua Tail. You can see the energy on ChemCoop's side. He is nowhere near the superpower or the foul play. I think this is it.
Yeah, this is a tale of Aqua for sure. The water type damage is going to come through, and STUDMUFFINS takes game 3 in convincing fashion.
Wow, absolutely convincing. After a rare misplay to end game number 2, STUDMUFFINS rights the ship here in game 3 with Shadow Drapion. I mean, I know ChemCoop keeps bringing that Malamar. You and I have discussed that Pokemon looks potentially very good, but it just seems like it's always running into Azumarill and Shadow Drapion.
Yeah, and I think in this specific instance, it's very difficult to line up the Malamar into something that's going to be a positive matchup every time, because STUDMUFFINS has the 2 fairy types plus the Shadow Drapion that he's been consistently bringing to every battle. Maybe at this point, ChemCoop decides, you know what? There's another Pokemon on my team that I want. Maybe I want to bring the Lapras. Maybe I want to bring the Claydol or the Talonflame instead of the Malamar. But I think the Azumarill Drapion core has been very consistent for him, and it's going to come back again.
I absolutely agree, and there's no like easy answer here for ChemCoop, and that's part of what makes these late day matches so challenging on Championship Sunday, is because these trainers are here for a reason. They have a balanced approach, they have a nuanced style of play, and STUDMUFFINS' control, his handle on this Shadow Drapion has just been, I mean, one of the best I've ever seen.
Yeah, I agree, and I think that's proof that you know, if you have a good handle on the Shadow Drapion, you can go as far as you want in a tournament because it is such a consistent Pokemon.
Just ask Elam after he won Atlanta. I mean, that was like Shadow Drapion's showcase for the ages. But we are headed to a potential elimination game for ChemCoop. He needs to win right here and right now, or his tournament ends at 3rd place. Let's dive right in, everyone. We've got Azumarill versus Azumarill.
Wow, this is a matchup that is going to be intense and full of play-roughs. So here we see both Azumarill, I believe, are going to be able to charge up. They might go to 6, they might go to 7, they might go all the way to 9, but they are going to throw before the 10th bubble.
Stark, you are an absolute Azumarill master. I think this goes back all the way to Go Battle League Season 1 with your Azumarill, Registeel, and Toxicroak team. What a powerful trio, and I mean, what better Azumarill guide could I have asked for this mirror match?
That's true. It makes me feel very, very bubbly inside.
Oh my goodness, stop. Azumarill mirror match on the field. Play roughs getting fired off, as how Stark alluded to. Looks like we're just going up to 6 each time, but these trainers are looking to be confident about which one of their Pokemon will win that charge attack priority tie.
Yeah, and we see STUDMUFFINS throwing the play rough. This is going to put the Azumarill dangerously low and possibly in range of another play rough later on.
Play rough coming through here from ChemCoop. Azumarill is also kind of a smokescreen in its own way because it's so difficult to tell what is lurking behind it. It's such a neutral pick. It's so comfortable in matchups. But look at the HP difference. I think that ChemCoop's, I think that STUDMUFFINS' Azumarill might be just barely ahead. Yeah,
I have to agree. It might just be enough here to knock out, and it's not. It's going to be able to live on 1, and actually he saves all of that extra energy. And now ChemCoop, I believe, is in the driver's seat.
I would tend to disagree, and I think that's because the counter pick of STUDMUFFINS' Cradily is going to square up very nicely against the 2 remaining Water-type Pokemon, and now that he's able to line up his Shadow Drapion here, he can whittle it down and maybe put it within farm down range.
I guess we'll have to see that. Azumarill does still have that Ice Beam ready to go. As we see these Aqua Tails getting fired off back-to-back, one Drapion into the other, getting these Aqua Tails through, and I believe STUDMUFFINS is going to have to make a decision here. Lets it go, and now is in range of getting Poison Sting down.
And here's the issue for STUDMUFFINS. He needs this Aqua Tail to go through. If ChemCoop shields here and he gets Poison Stung down, things get really, really complicated, and ChemCoop realizes that.
Yeah, and I think at this point it's going to be yeah, we see the Poison Sting down, and now what happens here? Who do you send in if you're the Azumarill? Yeah, you have to send in the Azumarill, but maybe you get farmed down as well. And I think here you're going to go for the Aqua Tail. Yep, ChemCoop goes for the Aqua Tail. It's going to be enough to knock out the Azumarill.
Look at how awkward this is for STUDMUFFINS. I mean, can you Bullet Seed down a Poison type that already has so much stored energy?
I don't know. I don't think so. Yeah, and now you're going to throw throwing the Aqua Tail. This is actually very dangerous.
Look at STUDMUFFINS. He's realizing he might have bit off more than he can chew, trying to Bullet Seed down this Pokemon. Aqua Tail connects. Drapion is so fast, so spammy, so resilient, and that typing advantage is just It's so rough for STUDMUFFINS here.
Exactly, and now we actually see the shield coming up. ChemCoop is content just continuously throwing as many charge attacks as possible, even if that means consistently going for the Aqua Tail. And now the Rock Tomb is going to be more than enough to knock out.
Oh
we actually see another shield come up from ChemCoop.
Oh my gosh, pedal to the metal. ChemCoop is able to withstand that charge attack. Now he's going to go for the crunch against this Great Daily, and STUDMUFFINS no shields.
Yeah, and I think this is going to be the game-sealing play here, because now you could just swap into any of your other two Pokemon. He's going to swap into the Azumarill to get the last shield, guarantee that. And now I believe the Lapras might be able to farm down.
Well, no, hold on. Will 2 charge attacks be enough to KO that Lapras? If you fire the Rock Tomb early and then get to a Grass Knot, is that the winning combination? Especially because the switch timer for ChemCoop is going to be on cooldown.
Right. You're actually absolutely right. And how now we see the Rock Tomb come in, like you mentioned, this is going to be incredibly close.
It's 12 turns, right, to the Sparkling Aria. It might be a charge attack priority tie.
Oh, and I think if it's a charge attack priority tie, I don't know who's going to win. And also, at the same time, that Dropion still...
Exactly. Sparkling Aria coming through here from ChemCoop's Lapras, and a slight scare there at the end, but I think it really hinged on that Shadow Drapion mirror matchup there, because that was so vital. I mean, STUDMUFFINS kind of rolled the dice. He kind of gambled. He said, I really need for ChemCoop to no shield, because if he does, and I'm unable to farm down that Pokemon, it's going to get really, really tricky, and that's exactly what we saw. Alex, we are tied up here 2-2. STUDMUFFINS versus ChemCoop. This is our losers finals. One more game, and then the winner will face the 2023 world champion. I feel like ChemCoop has so much momentum right now.
Yeah, I agree. I think STUDMUFFINS has made 1 or 2 small miscalculations, I think in Game 2 and now in Game 4, and now it comes down to this decisive game number 5. I think this is exactly the moment that we've been waiting for as casters, as viewers, as people who love Pokemon and Pokemon GO competitive PvP. This is the moment that we've been waiting for. Who's going to take this game and move on to the grand finals?
I don't know. They say if you take a shot at the champ, you better not miss, and these two trainers want that shot. They got to get past each other first, though, as we take a look back at a pivotal game number 4. Our trainers are getting locked in, but meanwhile, we can just reflect on this Drapion. My goodness. This has to be the #1 Pokemon STUDMUFFINS has on his mind. He's got to rein this Pokemon in. Yeah, and I think it's going to be very difficult no matter what happens. Here we are in game number 5. We see the Claydol into the Tinkaton. This is a massive advantage for ChemCoop. What a change up. ChemCoop goes for the ground type, and he leads right into that steel type Tinkaton. Gonna pivot to the Lapras now. He's got the Skull Bash. I think that ChemCoop is starting this off on the right foot.
Yeah, this is exactly where he wants to be. Obviously, the player is going to come out first. It is going to do some nice neutral damage into that Lapras, but that Lapras is going to have an entire Skull Bash that is going to get thrown immediately, as soon as possible, into that Lapras, because you really want to boost your defense as soon as possible. Here it comes.
Trying to throw on good timing there. ChemCoop is going to fire up the Skull Bash. STUDMUFFINS can withstand it, but he doesn't want to. He's actually going to shield.
And I think this is probably the right call from STUDMUFFINS. If you are going to come back in this game, you need to play a little bit off kilter to try to get any advantage that you can, so you can avoid that Claydol Tinkaton matchup.
You're exactly right. If you just give up the Azumarill here, you're giving up switch advantage again, and that makes it really difficult to come back from. Lapras zeroing in on another Skull Bash. It already has it, and it's going to fire it here.
Yeah, and this is not going to be enough to knock out the Azumarill, but it is going to put it dangerously low and maybe even farm down range for that Dropion later in the game.
Exactly. Skull Bash connects, hovering over the play rough. STUDMUFFINS reaches it. I think this will be enough to KO in spite of the double defense buffs. And ChemCoop says, I'm going to shield and Psywave all the way down.
Yeah, that might be a game-sealing Psywave down if he's able to do it. We see the Psywaves coming through. He's going to be able to end this matchup with a ton, and I mean a ton of energy.
Absolutely monstrous farm down there from ChemCoop and his Lapras. Now he's got 2, count them, 2 Sparkling Arias to throw into this Tinkaton. And the pick that STUDMUFFINS thought was going to keep him in this tournament might just be his Achilles heel.
Yeah, STUDMUFFINS had not brought the Tinkaton until this decisive Game 5. And now these double Sparkling Arias are going to basically mitigate the entire Tinkaton.
Exactly. It does load the Bulldoze, though, and reaching for the Cradily. Here comes the Claydol, and the counter swap into the Drapion. STUDMUFFINS is not in a good place here. This is going to be very, very difficult to come back from.
Yeah, the one advantage here for STUDMUFFINS is he's able to get the Rock Tomb through before the crunch. So this is a massive debuff to be able to try to survive these crunches. But now ChemCoop is in a really good position, going for the crunch, and is going to be 4 away from another one.
And think about this too, right? He triggered the attack drop with the Rock Tomb, but a defense drop could actually bring things back to normal. No defense drop on that first crunch, though. Reaching for a second Rock Tomb, but Drapion's so fast.
Surprising here is actually going for the Aqua Tail, and I believe this is STUDMUFFINS' way back into this game. It's not going to be enough to knock out.
Yeah, STUDMUFFINS actually, I think, kind of putting down the phone in between charge attacks. He's kind of, maybe ceding control and sees the writing on the wall, but you got to keep battling, you got to keep fighting it out. Rock Tomb connects, and now it's just Claydol all alone.
Yep, ChemCoop making the read. You don't really need to shield that move because now you're in a position where actually this Rock Tomb is going to come out. I thought you could get the farm down before the Rock Tomb, but this is actually fine. ChemCoop understands the situation, is going to be able to farm down this Cradily potentially, but actually we see a switch immediately into that Tinkaton, and now you see the Rock Tomb getting fired from the other end.
I think STUDMUFFINS realizes that ChemCoop made all the right calls. Everyone in the stream chat and in the venue, give it up. ChemCoop is going to your grand finals in Portland.
Beautiful. Clap it up for ChemCoop. I think he has demonstrated and a lot of energy at this point, and is very excited to get to the grand finals. We are going to see It's Axon versus ChemCoop. I could not ask for a better finals.